Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Shaun. Shaun, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me on, Aaron.
I am super excited about this episode for a variety of reasons. One, because you're in Boise, Idaho, and I don't really get to speak to people from Boise, Idaho. So,
yeah, it's a pretty fun town.
I was once in Idaho. I was in Idaho one time driving through, and we actually, loyal listeners, there is actually a potato museum in Idaho. I was there. True story, right, Shaun? True story.
Yeah.
Claim to fame.
We have potato museum.
I'm going to encourage everybody. I do every episode, but specifically this episode, and we're going to get to some of it. Your bio, your story is absolutely incredible. So what I'd like to do, which I don't usually do on the podcast, but I have an idea of kind of where I want to take this. Can you please paint the picture for us or take us to March 12th, 2018? Tell us about you, your upbringing, where you were, to March 12th, 2018. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Awesome. So I guess I could go all the way back. I grew up in a small farm in Eastern Oregon. We actually processed mink. That was kind of a different upbringing. You know, mink's like a ferret. We would sell the pelts for coats back in the 80s before everybody got too PETA about all of it. Moved off that. Started riding motorcycles when I was about 3. My parents put me in wrestling and all that stuff to keep me. I was very active. All that stuff kind of works in later, but we did that and then go through school, all that fun stuff. Started working on a beer truck at 21 and then went through, became operations manager and all that. And then worked for a hospital, then started going to work for the propane tech for a company. And I traveled around the whole Northwest, servicing propane trucks, dispensers, calibrating them for the state, and then doing all federal inspections for trucks and that companies like AmeriGas and some others.
So here's what I'd like to say, and correct me if I'm wrong. March 12th, 2018, relatively quote unquote average, relatively quote unquote normal.
Yep.
I don't want to say run of the mill because you had a career that was interesting, but life.
I was pretty run of the mill.
That's grew up in a town, started riding some motorcycles, nothing crazy happens, get a career, start working in that career. And I think it's best if I read this. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, you're good, man.
On March 13th, 2018, I survived a devastating industrial propane explosion. This is you referring to yourself. The 3,000-gallon delivery truck I was working under, leaked 300 liquid gallons that turned into a thick, knee-high cloud blanketing the ground. As I tried to shut the main valve, something ignited the pool of gas I was laying in. With a bright flash, my life was changed forever. I crawled out from under the truck on fire to see absolute destruction and a life-saving snowbank that I ran to, extinguishing the flames. This podcast is called Keep Hustling. When I read those words, Mr. Free, I'd like to ask you, can you give us your raw, unfiltered thoughts when you hear those words?
Oh man, it's weird to hear them. It makes my heart race. Everything tingles a little bit. Spidey senses going off. Yeah, it was a crazy day. I say destruction. I was next to a 40 by 60 shop that disappeared. That's my turn back and look. The shop I was next to is now gone. It's crazy. When I got out from underneath the truck, that was pretty unreal because everything goes into slow motion. You know, I remember running, and my friends and I just watched Deadpool. I don't know if you'd seen the outtakes at the end when they're going through, and all I thought was like, I'm going to look like Deadpool. I'm going to look like a topographical map of Utah. Just hate screw to avocado. That was the thoughts running through my brain as I'm running because I could just see all skin hanging off my arm and like the fabric melted in with it. It's kind of crazy.
I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
I was life flighted from Montana to Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, Washington. I was burned on 46% of my body, requiring multiple surgeries, coded, and had a near-death experience. I remained intubated for 10 days while I battled double pneumonia, MRSA in my left leg's burn graft, and many more complications that kept me in the burn ICU for weeks.
Yeah.
I listen to you today, Mr. Free. I look at you today, and I wonder, as we sit here on the Keep Pulsing podcast, what on earth gave you the strength to be sitting where you are right now, less than 10 years later?
Always been pretty bullheaded. Like that was part of it. And the other part was like when you go through stuff like that, I have two kids. My daughter at the time was 13. My son was 8. He just turned 8. And in my brain is like, man, I cannot let my kids watch me fail. Like I can't just wither up. I gotta come out of it. I don't want them to see, oh, if something happens, you could just give up. That was one of my big driving, just couldn't.
I find that amazing because what I've learned on this podcast and what you're saying, which I think is true, is that very often the greatest inspiration or the most important inspiration that a person can have are others. And it's interesting because many people feel that if it's not coming from themselves, then it's not worth it. But yet, and I agree with you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if it wasn't for your children or the thought of how they would react to a quote unquote father who gave up. And by the way, I'm reading this again. No fault giving up here. I want to be clear, but it's just amazing that now when you look back on it so many years later, you realize that if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have had the strength, and therefore you wouldn't for yourself have made it through. And when you became a father the number of years before, who would have thought that it would have been that moment of having children that probably would have saved your life? Because without the spirit, without the drive that you just described, you probably would have had to forget about a different psychological, emotional outcome, but a different, very different physical outcome.
I think part of that is just being a parent. You get so used to not focusing on you, on your kids. It's easy. It's easy to give up stuff for you all the time. You do it for your kids. Like it's not easier to do it for somebody else. It feels like it gives you more strength or whatever.
Did you ever think you weren't going to make it? Not in that moment. Obviously, that moment is crazy, but during the rehab process.
Oh no, it was in that moment because I didn't lose consciousness the whole time until they sedated me in Montana. Like as I was walking to the ambulance, it flashed through my head. My father died young. I was 26. My sister was only 15, or she was 14. Yeah, I can't remember what time in the year. But it was around the same age, and I was like, oh, I just remember how hard that was on my sister. I was like, I could not do that to my daughter. It's crazy to think of it, but that was when that whole drive started getting instilled on the side of the road.
I'd like to pivot for a second, or
Yeah,
maybe for
man.
more than a second. You mentioned that you transitioned from victim to survivor and from survivor to thriver. What are the biggest differences in your mind between victims and thrivers?
Yeah, I've been fighting that for quite a while. It's really easy to have the victim mentality of all the outside influences, and you don't have a choice. Like, oh, this happened to me. I didn't have a choice to do what I did. That's kind of the victim mentality to me. You have no power. Everything else, all those outside influences is what controls you. Once you become a survivor, you're like, draw a line in the sand. You're like, no, I'm not letting you do that anymore. It's just not doing it. Then the transition over to a thriver, it's like, now I'm pushing back. I'm now moving that line in the sand further and further towards my goals. That's kind of how my brain situates it.
Do you believe that every survivor can be a thriver?
Yeah, I
How do
do.
you get that?
It's going to be a lot harder for some than others. I mean, my injuries are pretty bad, and I went through quite a bit. But like, I'm even low on the spectrum for burn survivors. There's people out there that had it so much worse. Their coming back is going to be so much harder, but it is possible.
I don't think we're disagreeing when I say that I also feel that some of this is related to where the person is before the accident
Yeah,
happens, before that moment.
yeah,
Because I hark back to your comment about being strong willed, being strong headed, being motivated, having children for whom you felt the will to live.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, nobody can prepare. You didn't know when that was going to happen. But had you not built the life and built the innate hustle and built the foundation that you had at that moment, you probably wouldn't be here today. So
No,
maybe the
probably not.
lesson for others is, because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, what the next hour is going to bring, what the next minute is going to bring. We don't know what that is going to be. Maybe the lesson is building the foundations of keep hustling, building that strength, not just physically, but emotionally, and the drive and the will, so that if and when something happens, you've already stacked the deck in your favor. That doesn't mean you're going to survive. That doesn't mean you're going to survive. But if you survive the physical, you can thrive because of what you've built. What do you say to that?
Oh no, you're 100%. So before I've talked about side hustles. I'm always doing something. Always. I've always had one job and then something else I'm doing on the side. It's just my nature. So before that, I was a CrossFit instructor. I was heavily into CrossFit. I mean, I was walking around 220 at 9% body fat, and I'm like 5'8". I mean,
No wonder
just
you're able
built
to
like
get
a
to. No
bridge
wonder
pole.
you were able to get to that snowbank.
Yeah. But my body was pretty strong. I was in really good shape. It was healthy already. So when that accident happened, like I didn't have my recovery was a lot lower because my body was just further along progress. And also the damage wasn't near as severe because I was pretty stout. It was in pretty good shape. So my body wasn't having to fight, already having to work on its own stuff. It was already there. That, and I'm pretty used to punishment. If you do CrossFit long enough, you start doing those hero wads. You can come back from a lot after those.
Would you change it?
No,
Why? It's very easy to
it
say. It's
made
very
me
easy
who
to
I
say
am.
it. Don't say it made me who I am. What does that mean?
Oh no, it's so I wouldn't wish what
Take
happened to me on
here's why.
anybody.
I want our listeners to be inspired to say, no matter what comes at me, I'm looking at this, and what I find interesting is I have victim and I have thriver on two sides of one sentence.
Yeah.
There will
So I'll
always
be
be times
cheesy
in
for a
lives when
second.
there are always times in people's lives when they're victims.
Yeah.
We got to
So,
inspire those to become thrivers.
I'll be a little cheesy for a second. I make knives. I started getting knife making before my accident, and I really focused on it after. It was a good part of my healing, right? But with knife making, you take a piece of steel that until you put it under heat, it's annealed. So it's soft. You can manipulate it. You can move it around, adjust it where you need. And then you put it under fire, you heat it up, quench it in oil, and it gets harder. Then you have to temper it. Like that whole experience just really hardened what I already had. I'd already been shaped. I'd already been made how I wanted to be. But then going through that really solidifies, it just anchors who I am today. It gave me more to focus on than just me is another part of it. And it that my whole outlook on life is different than what it was before. You can't go to the other side and come back and be the same. If you did, you wasted it. I mean, you don't go through a life changing event, waste it, and be the same.
True, that's true. But now you're saying that you wouldn't change it. Even I agree with
No.
you. When you're put in that position, you have no choice,
Mhm.
right? Fight, flight, tread or die. I got that part. What I'm saying is, what happens? You're now saying that the person that it made you, you
Mhm.
wouldn't trade. Now,
No.
don't get cheesy. Don't say because I had no choice. I got that, but this is keep hustling and we press for the hard answers. What does that mean? What does it mean to you when you think about who you were before versus who you are now?
Who I was before was a workaholic. My answer to everything was just work more. Need more money? Work more. Not smarter, more. Now I'm like, ooh, time to be a little more intelligent. And now I know there is an expiration date. I never thought there was before. So now it just really changed my perspective on life. It changed my whole perspective on people, religion. It changed everything in my life.
What do you think has been the greatest change?
A lot more humble. It's weird to say that. A lot less ego. I don't. I now know I don't know everything. Like I don't think I have the answers anymore, and I really used to think I had them.
I'll tell you something interesting. And if you disagree, jump in. I don't think that if you were humble guy you are today at that moment, that you would have gotten out the same way you did. There's something
No,
about that. There's something about that. You know, it's great to be humble, but sometimes success needs ego. And
Yeah.
the moments that you described earlier of I can't fail, I won't fail, I am not going to fail. And the only reason why I'm not going to fail is because I don't fail. I, Shaun Free, do not fail. And since I don't fail, I'm not going to fail, right? If you didn't have that ego at that moment, you might have not been the thriver.
No, I've
So I think it's
always,
interesting where where we evolve and those tools change. But if we didn't have them to begin with, we may not have gotten to where we are today.
I want to say one thing. I've done a couple podcasts now, and Aaron, you've got to have about the best questions I've had so far. I really like it. This is
Thank you.
awesome.
We've tried. We're 125 episodes in, and really, what we're trying to do here at Keep Hustling is we're trying to motivate those who haven't had the life experiences or who will have different life experiences to keep going. And I think that I would say that I think that there's a certain level for, and I do appreciate that, by the way. But I think that it's important with anything. You know, when difficult times come, if a person, if you're filled with self doubt, you won't push through.
Right.
So I think that there's a healthy level of ego. That, by the way, that doesn't mean that you had the healthy level before, and that doesn't mean you have an unhealthy amount of humility now. But I'm just saying that I think that there's a certain point for people where you got to say that you can do it, and nothing's going to stand in your way. And some people may look at that as ego, but that's what Keep Hustling is. Keep Hustling is saying I'm going to do it because it's what I feel is best for me and my family. Not illegal, not immoral, not unethical, not going to hurt anybody else. And if you didn't have that strength or what you call that hard-headedness, I'm really not sure.
No, I wouldn't have.
I'm not sure if you'd be a burned victim, not a burned thriver, for lack of a better term.
No, that's right. I mean, it's I really like this question. I really do. A big part of it is, and it's part of our society now. I didn't go in the military. I didn't do a lot of stuff, but I never really got until you're really truly tested. You don't know. Now it's like I know what I'm capable of. So when bad things happen now, I'm like, this go. You know, August, tore my bicep tendon, snapped it, had to have it reattached, and I was just like, bah.
What a joke! You're like, what a joke. This you
Yeah,
call this recovery? What a joke.
yeah, I'm good. I go to my rehab guy, and he's like, you should not be doing what you're doing. You have a 5 pound weight limit. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. I'm doing pull ups, but I'll stick with 5 pounds. It's all right. Just I know how comfortably I can push myself, but that's you get tested, you know how far you can go is a big part
What
of it.
What's the most important lesson we haven't touched on yet from your life experience?
Another part, I give a lot more now. I have a lot more grace, but I give a lot more away than I used to, even especially time. I now once a year donate a week to a burn camp. I'm a camp counselor for burn survivor kids, and that's probably one of the more rewarding things I've done. And I'll do it every year I can. I do that a lot more. Just help others, help a lot more people.
Do you think that people should help others more before something happens that they need to help?
And
I
people
feel like
should help everybody more. As a society, we need to get back to helping each other a lot more.
I am absolutely inspired by your story. I'm just sitting
Thank
here
you.
internalizing so much of what you're
So, like,
saying.
how old are you, Aaron?
I am 38.
Nice. I'm almost 50 now, and like the the America I grew up in is a lot different than now. Like we knew all our neighbors, even on the farm where neighbors were a long ways away. We knew them all, and we all helped each other a lot. And then when this happened to me, it kind of reminded me that the network of people that gathered around my family. God damn it, yeah, that one's hard for me still. I have a really amazing tribe around me. They really helped, and that's what doing all the groundwork ahead of time, helping a lot of people ahead of time. Maybe they're what gets you back up when you go down.
100%. And I think that it is, I appreciate the raw nature of what you're sharing. And I agree with you. And I think that there's so much, it is very easy when life is blissful and everything is going easy to be alone, to do it your own way, to do it by yourself, and to not think that you need others. But there
Yeah,
comes a time in everybody's life. I mean, I started this podcast just after my father passed away, and some of the original guests were my closest friends in the insurance industry. And I'm not saying that people should build friendships knowing that one day you're going to need the other people to come and selfishly be there for you. But I can say with 100% confidence that go through a tragedy, go through a time in your life where you can't run your business for a week, go through obviously what you went through, which was far more traumatic and acute. And as I say again, had you not done the groundwork before, personally and communally, as difficult as it was, who knows where you would be today. And I think that people today who think they can do it alone, I don't wish ill on anybody. I don't wish bad on anybody. But nobody can do it alone. There's a reason why we're social beings. There's a reason why we have community. There's a reason why we have people who are different than us. And that doesn't mean we all have to agree on everything, but we have to agree on one thing, and that's that we can help the next person move forward. And if nothing else, that's what I'm inspired to learn from you.
Well, that, like, you may even be successful doing it alone. But I promise you're not the full potential. You're not getting it all. You know, it's there. Where life's too short and there's too much to know and learn to do it all.
I'm incredibly inspired. That's I'm rarely speechless on this, but I'm inspired by you, your story, your hustle, and your driving forward. We have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them and to their hustle. And so with that, I'm going to say thank you again, Shaun, for being here. Thank you for not only surviving, but for thriving. Thank you for inspiring me. And thank you for inspiring our listeners. And the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Aaron. The thing that really got me when I was in the hospital, Jocko Willink has Discipline Equals Freedom is one of his online books. It's actually an iTunes store. It's good. And as you listen to that whole track, it's like, doesn't matter what happens, find the good in it. You know, you have to find, lost your job, good. You'll find another one, or build a better resume, get a better career. That's one of his lines in there. And when I was in the hospital, I started listening to that, and I was like, what good can I get out of this? What good is today going to be? So then I listened to it before wound care. Because like wound care is it's just something I hate. Like, because 46% of me was burned. All this was burnt. So they'd have to just scrub with a single edge razor.
Oh,
Shave everything off to deburr all that, so my hair would grow back.
oh,
They'd pull all bandages off. It's like taking it just into the scabs and pull all that. Then wash you down, scrub you, and then start wrapping you back up. When I first got in there, that was about a 3-hour process, and a whole team of people working on me. And it like the amount of medication they'd give me for all that, they just mentally ramp yourself up to be going in there smiling, and like get on the table and try to do push-ups because I couldn't walk for the first till Easter when I learned how to walk. So it's just like listen to good, like, all right, well, at that point, good was I'm just going to get healed. That was my good at that point. But as it progressed, it's like, all right, learn how to walk. I made 1 lap. Good. I'd have to do at least 2 more laps than the nurses told me I had to do that day. But just listen to that good and all constantly just got me in the mindset. I still listen to it every day. It's really good. Get you in the right mindset to accomplish even the hardest task or defeats.
All I can say is thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. It's been a pleasure, man.
This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, just like Shaun Free, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.